Hello, everyone. Before we get started, just wanted to encourage you to keep an eye out for upcoming episodes because we've got some very special guests, including some heroes of mine. Right, on to today's episode. So, next up, I've got a question in front of me from Josh Ward. Um, he was saying that he got in a bit hot and had an accident at Cadwell Park, and he's asked me here if I find myself going into a corner too hot, what is the best course of action to take? And it's a tricky one to answer, but I think it's important because most motorcyclists find themselves in that situation at some point. So, you've heard me mention the part lean braking toward the corner. And to me, that is the key. It's the key to go fast on track, but it's also the key to get you out of trouble. Because a lot of the time, if you brake straight up, straight ahead, you're going to run out of track. And if you're on the road, you're going to run out of road, and often there's not much runoff. So, same problem, in a race, if you run off the track, you're going to lose too many positions. So, when I say part lean, it varies whether you're on the dirt, because I learnt this dirt biking. All the guys that do the dirt track, flat track, that type of thing will tell you how important the skill is, and that is braking toward the corner, both brakes going if you've got both brakes on the dirt track. But if you've got both brakes on the bike, you got to use them, and it varies. Like if you're on the dirt, it's a little bit further up. It's not as leaned over as if you're on the in the rain, it's obviously a little bit further up again, but it's all the same thing. I hit both brakes and on a slight angle toward the corner and go down those gears. And what it allows you to do is, like I said, not run off the track, but brake just as effectively, if not more so, than in a dead straight line. And I'll literally use this every corner on track that you need to brake on, and I'll also use it going to the shops. I'm not doing it like a lunatic, but just practicing it, just always getting comfy, so when you need it, it's there. I'll tell you one other thing good about it that I used to use, and I still use now. If you're unsure about grip level, it's the best way to check with that rear brake. So as I'm braking toward the corner with both brakes, and I've gone down a gear, so you've got a bit of engine brake there as well. If you just keep adding pressure to the rear until you feel that rear move, be ready to get straight back off it, but, reduce it. But when you feel that rear move, it's a great way to feel how much grip you have. If it goes real early, then there's not much grip, and you can't try that with the front, can you? Because unless you're Marc Marquez, and even then, if it's slippery surface, it's down so quick, it's so hard to save. With the rear, it's not like that. The rear will move, come around, and it's more forgiving. So, to answer your question, Josh, I think this is the key. Practice that part lean, braking towards the corner with both brakes, going down the gears. I've got one here in front of me from Paul Newman. I've got some big hitting fans. And Paul has asked, what do I think will be the next technology passed from MotoGP to road bikes? I know I've worded that slightly different, but I like that question because it got me thinking. But there's always electronic things coming through because that is always developing. We saw the wings recently start moving onto the road bikes. Obviously, geometries and engines are always changing and passing on to road bikes. But I'm excited about the gearbox. And I'm not saying seamless. I think that's a long way off because it's so expensive. But MotoGP bikes and Moto3 use, when they go first, second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, they don't have neutral between first and second like road bikes do. And everyone knows what a horrible situation it is when you get that false neutral between first and second, especially if you're going into a corner hard, on track, sports bike. It's a nightmare. Actually, it was so bad in the 90s that I've learned and got the habit without even realizing it. I just realized it when I started teaching on track, and I wondered why I do this. And that is, when I go into right-hand corners, if I need it to stay in first and I need that engine brake to stop, and I know that it'll be touch and go if I stay on the track or even stay upright, if it gets a false neutral, I hold it in. So once I go into first, I don't release the pressure until I'm safely into the corner. So I use a reverse shift, and I go and pull it into first and go into that turn, and my foot is holding it in. And that comes from terrible gearboxes when I first started my career, the 90s gearboxes with no slippers so you're going in so hard that if it jumps out into neutral, which it did, I had to do whole races holding it in gear, on the entry. And if it jumps out, you either run wide, and lose position, or you lose the front, because all of a sudden you've lost that rear braking, that engine brake, and then it all loads onto the front, and you go, lose the front, which both are a nightmare. So whenever I'm in that position, I hold it in. Still now, even though the gearboxes are better, but I'm so excited about when the production bikes will start to have what MotoGP bike have, and Moto3, and that is all the gears in a row, and below or above, whichever way you change gear, is neutral down here, and you have to pull a lever to go in and out of there. So the MotoGP bikes, you see the riders get on the bike, they push a lever, and then that lever allows them to go into the gearbox, which is just solid 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, no neutrals in there. So they call it a gate in the gearbox that allows them. And when they come back into the paddock before they get off the bike, when they hook neutral, they have to again push that lever. Sometimes it's under the throttle side, sometimes it's under the clutch side, wherever they want it, depending on if they've got a thumb brake, whatever they want to do. They can have it on either. But they have to push that lever to go out of the gearbox area into the neutral area, and I look forward to that.